The outdoors is not a niche. It's way bigger than that. The outdoors is essential to our lives, essential to who we are as a species. And as the world continues to get smaller, as new advances in technology push us to the limits of the planet, the outdoors is more important than ever. Open Container is here to explore this new idea of the outdoors. We'll strive to uncover stories about creativity, adventure, conservation, politics, and the people who make the outdoor space so vibrant. The world is full of anxiety right now. Climate change, politics, cultural upheaval. But fear not, there are answers in the outdoors. I'm Doug Schnitzbahn, and on this show, we will talk to people who are looking to nature to find the solutions we all need. We will be having honest conversations about how the outdoors can change us, how it heals us, how we learn from it, and how we can build a better world from what we learn about being outdoors. So please join us, open the container, and find out what's inside. Let's get some.
Open Container launches January 21st. Find and follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. This is an outdoor podcast that aims for the head. I'm Colin True, and joining me today, we found out that he's been betraying this podcast as a secret puff and drinkware fan this entire time. It's Justin Hausman.
I do have a puff and drinkware koozie somewhere. I'm surprised I don't have more. Those seem like they're... I wonder if their entire like plan was like, you know what? Every brand will buy one of these as like swag. And we'll just sell them to every brand because it's like such an obvious swag thing. But I have an Eddie Bauer one, and I don't remember why. I think it just showed up in like a Eddie Bauer gift pack one day.
I was going through. I was looking for some new photos for our Instagram posts, and I was just trolling your Instagram, and I found a picture of a puff and drinkware back in the day that you posted.
They're cute as hell.
Like, that motherfucker.
They are absolutely darling. I mean, they are very cute.
Yeah.
I mean, my little can has arms, and it's wearing a puffy. It's wearing a parka.
Stop defending them.
I'm demonstrating what it looks like when you have your like arms stick. Like I'm a little teapot.
You're wearing a puffy.
I'm a little teapot. Yeah,
you're a can of beer right now.
I'm
inside
a can of beer. I basically am a walking can of beer at this point, Colin. I'm not afraid to admit it.
I was a little taken aback when I saw the old puff and drinkware, and you're proudly displayed in your
dude,
Instagram feed.
You were. Are you like an old crush? Like
I was deep.
That is deep.
I just spit all over my screen.
Good Lord, man. I wish Instagram was searchable in your own feed. I don't think it is,
There's
right?
so much I wish for Instagram that it, wasn't related to Mark Zuckerberg.
Like, why would you?
That would be great.
Like, there was a time where I would take pictures for Instagram through Instagram. It's like, well, that picture's gone.
I did that
because it's like it's not in my phone. It's just in Instagram. I think.
Yeah, you go way back, and videos don't have audio anymore.
You know what I love is when you do the deep dives, because I'm not immune, and you realize that like everybody in the world in like 2012 and 13 were using the same filters. Like we were all like, "Ooh, this looks cool."
I was a big Amara guy.
Oh yeah, dude, had to. That was the one. That was like every single shot was that way.
Put a border on
now
that.
I wouldn't even dream of using a filter now. I mean, like I might use the Lux one, but like I would never. People like some friends of mine, like all their family pictures are like clearly like all like I don't know what they do, something that makes it look whiter, which is crazy because they're pretty white people as it is, and like it's like why are you? It's like trying to make it look like a freaking Nordstrom catalog or something. Anyway,
that's awesome. Yeah, Instagram. Well, today, Justin and I will be reacting to some stories that come out of the outdoor adventure community. We're also going to be joined by Doug Schnitzbahn, who's the host of the latest podcast to join the Rock Fight Podcast Network. It's called Open Container. It's available now. He's going to stop by to talk about his new show. And we got a little mailbag on top for the end of the episode. It's a jam-packed Rock Fight today.
I can't believe I have not called out the fact that the first known like actual surfable. That's not true. There was one in Japan, but the first like American cool wave pool was the Schlitterbahn. And I still haven't like made like a connection with Schnitzbahn. Schnitzbahn.
Oh, I'm like, whoa! Like, what dots are we connecting?
Every single time I see his name written out, I'm like, I need to make a Schlitterbahn joke.
I bet he's the kind of guy that would know it too.
Oh, he definitely knows it. Yeah, he definitely knows it. Yeah.
Dougie.
Or Schlitzbahn.
All right, well, before we get to the Schlitterbahn or anything else of that going on in the episode today, we want to remind you should go back and listen to Monday's episode of The Rock Fight if you have not, or even if you have, go listen to it again. You get to check out my thoughts on TikTok and outdoor brands, as well as Owen Comerford pop by to talk about the rumored MEC sale, and then come back this Friday for my conversation with Andrea Kelly, who's the founder of Make Plus Equal. I teased this last week, but we had to bump Andrea a week because we had the opportunity to talk to Shantae Salabert last week about the LA fires. So Andrea's going to be on the show this week. That's on Friday. And now, you know what? I think Justin's going to tell you a few other things about what we have going on here at old Rockfight HQ.
I'm going to demand that you subscribe to the Rockfight weekly newsletter right now, folks. Anyone listening, do it.
You're being so calm that it's actually more intimidating.
It's just such a good newsletter. I mean, like, I wish I wasn't involved in some way because it'd be fun to just sort of have it just appear and I have no idea what's in it because it's really that good. It's so much better than.
But you're the secret sauce that makes it that good.
Well,
I think is what.
Not that much of a secret. It's I mean, it's just so much better than any other like outdoor newsletter you're gonna get. It's full of original content, which eventually when I get around to it, start putting that stuff on the website too. But for now, it only exists on the newsletter, which is awesome. And we work really hard at making it great. So go to the Rockfight website, rockfight.co, and you'll get your little pop-up to join the mailing list. And you click it, the pop-up goes away, and boom, you're subscribed. And every Tuesday, you get a little smile on your face. Also, if you're new around here, or even if you're not and for some reason have not subscribed to our podcast, please hit the follow button on whatever podcast app you are listening to us on and give us that coveted 5-star rating. Please, 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 please do that.
Hey, lastly, too, we're open for business over here. If you want to seek out some advertising opportunities on the Rockfight or over on Open Container or in our newsletter, we have lots of opportunities to share with you. Our media kit and rate card are on rockfight.co. That's just, to start the conversation. You can also just drop an email to myrockfight@gmail.com and say, hey, I'd like to, talk to you guys.
You can also just
partner up.
Mail a physical check to Justin Hausman at P.O. Box 1.
How many times do we have to ask before someone says, hey, yes, we are soliciting checks for Colin and Justin today. It's the Hausman True fundraiser. Just send your checks on over.
Yeah.
Don't ask what you get for it. We get the checks. That's how this works.
It goes to stuff that is cool.
All right, let's get into our top story today, which is presented by your hub for ultralight gear, and that is Garage Grown Gear. So the first story we have today, really it's a question for us of who had January 19th in the first Everest Story of the Year poll. It's early this year. Everest season came early.
Yeah, I mean, I guess people are already making their plans for what gas they're going to huff on the mountain.
That's exactly the nature of this article. So, because according to an article by Angela Benavides on Gear Junkie last week, a group of commercial Everest climbers plan to chemically boost their acclimatization and performance by sipping xenon gas. Xenon gas, not xenomorph gas, which would turn you into a crazy alien. This is xenon gas.
Super useful, though. I don't think they would have any issues with the altitude.
I think they'd be fine climbing.
They can climb like nobody's business too.
Right. Xenon is typically an anesthetic with a side effect that boosts the EPO in one's blood. Basically, allows red blood cells to multiply without acclimatizing. The plan for this group is that they will get together.
Is it?
Sorry.
Is that what EPO means?
Yeah, EPO is that's what you always hear about cyclists blood doping, where they kind of increase their red blood cells to increase performance. With that way, you can have less oxygen and still get a higher performance.
Okay,
I think that's right.
I'm not an endurance
Any
athlete.
cyclists out there that tell me that I've got that wrong, send it on in to myrockfight@gmail.com. But the plan here is that a group of that's commercially led climbers will gather in Kathmandu during an Everest weather window this spring. They'll receive xenon therapy in a clinic, and then immediately fly to Everest Base Camp for an immediate summit push. They aim to be up the mountain in 3 days and then down in 1, so it's a 4-day weather window. They think this will increase their chances of summiting. It said in the article there's expected backlash from the mountain community, but the leaders of this expedition say the whole thing is rooted in safety because it's basically going to help prevent things like HAPE and haste and all the other sort of nasty things that can happen to you at altitude when you're not properly acclimatized. Justin, your thoughts on xenon gas?
All kinds of thoughts. One, I guess the first throwaway thought: do we is there any? Well, I guess probably people with $100,000 to burn and minimal levels of mountaineering experience. Who's calling? Who out there in the world is going? Let's make it easier to climb Everest for people. Let's reduce barriers to entry. Isn't the entire outdoor community united in spirit that there's too many fucking people climbing Everest all the time?
Well, that's true.
And so we're let's pioneer a way to make it easier to eliminate potential roadblocks for people. We're doing that now.
This one I'm kind of okay with. I don't really know.
Well,
I think this is just
you know who's not okay with it is the World Anti-Doping Agency, because it is on the banned list of substances. Did you know that? I just looked it up. Xenon gases because it's effective.
That makes sense.
It's a kind of blood doping.
You can see the dots connected here, right? Like, well, hold on. Like cyclists use this to elevate, oxygen in their bloodstream, right? I think I don't know how different this is though than people just using supplemental oxygen, right? It's just it's all kind of the same. It's in the same ballpark. I think if you have an issue with this, it's the same thing. Like, I think it's like, it should be, do you want the sport to be pure and you make it completely on your own effort? And then you should take things away like supplemental oxygen and Sherpa support and fixed ropes and everything else, right? I mean, it's kind of like, this is just a progression of any of that. Yeah.
I just love that I do enjoy that whether it's, I'm guessing that you're right, that they probably like learned about, I'm sure maybe these climbers realize that cyclists are doing something similar, or any endurance athlete is doing something similar, or has thought about doing something similar with Xenon gas. And they're like, what can I'll put just about anything in my body to make this easier. I do love the sort of willingness to just try random shit like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of neat. And I mean, I don't have a problem with it. Like, I'm never going to climb Everest. I don't care. But it is kind of funny to me that it just seems, I mean, if it's just for the sake of these people trying to see what happens, great. But I mean, if it makes it that much easier and you don't have to worry quite as much about acclimatization, you're just going to get more people on the mountain, right?
I think it's a purity of the sport thing too. Like, I'm offended on behalf of alpinists that it gets to this place as well. Like, it should be, we talk about Trump's going to rename Denali. It's like, oh, it's a sacred place. That's why they permanently changed the name from Mount McKinley. It's like, where's the backlash I know. And look, okay, we talked about it a lot in the show. Yes, they're trying to clean it up. They're trying to do more.
Yeah.
But the demand clearly is, and it's a huge economic driver for Nepal. So this is not a simple topic. I understand that. Don't at me, people who are listening. But just on principle, another thing I look at is, with the digital inclusion of like referees and umpires in sport, it's like either
didn't expect robot umps to make an appearance.
You like
in this Everest conversation?
Yeah, I'm reaching, but it's either have it all be digital and perfect.
Yeah.
Or have it be human and imperfect.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. The romance is there, but I mean, you're right though. Like, what's the difference between this and bottled oxygen? Probably, honestly,
nothing.
Probably nothing. But which again is, I don't have a problem with it at all. This has turned into more of like a why we think that, like, I don't know, Everest is overdone. I will say
it's true.
Xenon is a really cool word.
It is a cool
word.
Xenon
is a great word. Yeah,
I'd love sip a little of that.
I would just love to have Xenon, just generally speaking. I mean, Xenon is a great name for like a alien villain. Great name.
You should open a Xenon gas bar in San Francisco and just fucking clean
honestly
up
like
there.
what? Yeah, right? I mean, maybe you can. I don't know. I got to look into where you get Xenon. I guess Amazon. Probably. You know what? Let's find out. Let's just do a little.
I'll take some Cascade for the old dishwasher and a few containers of Xenon gas.
Okay, where to buy? Okay.
Costco.
Yeah, I don't think that's right.
No.
Oh, you can get it on eBay. Xenon gas, research grade. It's expensive.
How much?
Let's see.
They did say in the article that was one reason why it was going to be. It's like $5,000.
So I don't know how much is in this. It's 99 point. You rarely see the third 9 added. 99.999% pure. I can't tell what the quantity is, but I can tell you that it's $3,000, and it's in 4 people's carts right now. 4 people are thinking about getting it.
Well, they're maybe it's
Everest. Those people that are going to climb Everest. They're still not. They're like, well, it's $3,000. Oh wait, now you can get it way cheaper. Luciteria Science.
That's if it's cheaper, it's not the good stuff. It's not like the blue meth from Breaking Bad.
Did you know that next to neon, xenon gas is the only gas with a fairly widespread use, exploiting the property of gases to ionize under high voltage, which gives off a colorful glow? So apparently, xenon will also glow like neon. Hell yeah, dude! I'm getting some xenon. Let's do this as an experiment. Let's get some xenon. It says here you can get it for $15. Let's get some. You can get a 10 by 40 mil ampule. Let's see how much it costs.
How do you sip it? And how do you not can you OD on it? Like, what if you?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure you can.
Sorry guys, Justin's not on the pod today. He died drinking.
I think we should try this and just see. Like I have an endurance athlete neighbor, and he is aging and bored by all the things he's done. So he's decided to become like a world-class mountaineer. And so he went and climbed a bunch of like 20,000 foot volcanoes in South America earlier this year. But he spent 2 weeks before that sleeping in a
hyperbaric chamber or whatever,
acclimatization tent.
Oh, okay.
And so he probably knows all about this. Think about it.
He's probably got some Xenon. He might have some over there. You might be able to walk over and try this afternoon.
He was like, dude, I feel amazing. Like he'd be like, I'd see him every morning in the coffee shop. He'd be like, I just feel like I could like run farther and like bounce off stuff. So, yeah.
Well, there you go. There's another thing that people are doing to kind of help their efforts. I mean, on the face value alone, I have no problem with this. If you have the money, you're spending the money to go. Frankly, get you on and off the mountain. It's probably safer from that point of view. Like if there's a weather window, you're not going to get stuck because somebody's like dragging ass because they're not on xenon gas. I don't know. Ultimately, I don't have a problem with it. I just think like it's you know.
Well, either way, I'm trying some xenon out. You're going to do it with me. All right. It's going to be great.
I'll do it. Let's do it. Well, today's top story was presented by Garage Grown Gear. So our sponsor today, Garage Grown Gear's winter sale is live right now. It's happening right now, everybody. Head over to garagegrowngear.com to check it out. There's great deals on a wide range of ultralight brands. So if you're new to GGG, it's the perfect time to dive in. It runs through next Monday, the 27th. So shop the sale at garagegrowngear.com.
They might have Xenon.
Lloyd?
Let's ask
you sell
him.
Xenon?
You got Xenon?
Only ultralight.
Got the big Z? Yeah, of course.
They have these little tiny capsules.
Well, yeah, the ampules are titanium, not the heavy aluminum everybody else is using.
All right, let's bring in Doug Schnitzbahn to talk about Open Container, his new podcast on the Rockfight Podcast Network. All right, Justin and I are joined now by famed outdoor journalist, writer, editor, firefighter, outhouse uphill pusher, and add podcast host to that list. It's the host of Open Container, Doug Schnitzbahn's here. What's up, Doug?
Hey, great to be here and great to be part of this team.
So we wanted to have you on. The show launched yesterday. This episode comes out on Wednesday. The show came out yesterday. Open Container is the name of it. Listen, it's another outdoor podcast. We're producing it here at Rockfight. So yeah, we're cross promoting a bit by having Doug come on this show. You've been on the show before, so it's not that weird. But just for listeners of the Rockfight, Doug, what is Open Container all about? How would you describe it?
Well, I like how David describes it, which is kind of like the NPR of Rockfight. So we're going to take a little bit of like an Ezra Klein. Yeah, that's right. Every month I'm going to ask you for donations.
You want your Open Container tote bag. This is your time.
Yeah.
I would like an Open Container tote bag. I like that idea.
Actually, I would too, frankly.
But no, the idea of Open Container is we get to take a real deep dive conversation with different people who are real thought leaders and movers and shakers in the outdoor space. And we're really expanding on the idea of what the outdoors is, that it's not just some niche as it's often portrayed or as it is portrayed in a lot of podcasts, or it's not sports related necessarily, but it is part of the fabric of everyone's life at this point and a really important part of that. And that conservation and getting outdoors and health are all important to everyone in the world.
So do you have a sort of a guiding philosophy about who you want to have on the show? Is it people that are either just like that you're hearing, buzz about, that you want to see what's going on with them, or these like people you want to talk to for years, or, is it kind of a mishmash, sort of a potpourri, if you will, of guests?
I think it's a potpourri, but really the guiding principle is that we want to have deep conversations about the outdoors on a level that goes beyond, as I said, goes beyond just sport or goes beyond just getting outside, but really gets to look at deep problems and solutions facing everyone. So I think so far it's kind of a potpourri, right? A lot of the people we have on for the first 8 guests are people I've known for a long time, like Luis Benitez, who's pushing for a national outdoor recreation department. I've known Luis for a long time. So he's kind of a friend as well as a colleague, as well as someone I really respect. It was great to have him on. At one point, I'm going to talk to one of my first bosses in the outdoor world, Jonathan Klein, who was a wilderness manager in the Beaverhead Deer Lodge National Forest. And I worked for him digging trails. And cool. He's got a book out now about wilderness. So it's a real mix of people. And then I also, we'll have some aspirational people I've just been dying to talk to. Jeff Tweedy, if you're listening, we want you on.
We do, because I want to talk about how I like that's shots fired here. We could talk about how Jesus Christ, Sunvolt is a far better project than
Oh no,
Wilco.
that'll get him going. That'll get him. He'll leave. He'll just leave. He hates that.
I mean, the funny thing is about this, and for people listening a long time know that I'm kind of on the record of kind of detesting most outdoor interview format podcasts, mostly because I don't feel like either the host or the guest have a lot to say. It's more just like, let's put this person on display and talk about them. And then it ends up being mostly not interesting. I think the fact that the way you are structuring the episodes, and so if you've not listened to it yet, listeners, you'll see when you check out the pod.
Well, they haven't listened to it because it hasn't. I guess
it came out yesterday. We're recording this in the past, but it's airing in the future.
Time is weird, you guys. Time is weird.
It's gonna bend. We're gonna bend time and space in this podcast.
But Doug opens every episode with sort of a point of view on a topic, right? Which leads to why that guest is there. And it's like, so there is a little bit of a through line between, kind of what we do in the Rock Fight of like, there's a curious point of view that leads to a lot of the topics. However, there's like Doug mentioned, it's a bit more of a, an NPR approach or a long form interview to kind of answer some of those questions. What is it about, well, I guess ultimately what you've developed, like we've helped you produce it, but ultimately this is your show. Why did you decide to cover some of the topics you decided to cover? Like, what is it that was kind of interesting to bring Luis on, or Jonathan, or Caroline Gleich, or, Danny Reyes Acosta? Like, what is it about it that made you, what were the topics that led you to those folks that were interesting to you?
I think it starts with the people, right? Each one of those people is really interesting to me. And I love the art of interviewing. I love the art of talking to people. So what's important to me is talking to those people and really getting to the root of what they're about and how it plugs into the outdoor world in a larger way. I mean, someone like Luis was pretty easy to talk to because he has this big idea of a National Outdoor Recreation Department. So that is obviously the topic. I think someone like Caroline is great to talk to. Caroline Gleich, who just ran for Senate in Utah and is a ski mountaineer. But beyond all that, what's really amazing about her is how she uses social media to be vulnerable as a ski mountaineer or as a politician. And, she's endured the slings and arrows of all sorts of ski bros telling her how awful she was. So that leads into being able to survive politics, which might not be as bad as someone telling you your ski form is wrong on a cover or something like that, right? So I think it's a combination of topics that I'm interested in, but really people I'd like to talk to and get to that kernel. And then that spurs for me, more thought on these topics or ideas. We've also got like Danny Reyes Acosta talking about who, filmmaker and journalist and marketer, everything else, talking about who gets to tell the outdoor story, who gets to put the outdoor narrative out there. And that led to me writing an intro about my beginnings looking at ski films that just happen to have a lot of bros in them and how that's changed now for a really good way.
God, this just fits so. I mean, I realize that we're promoting our own show here on the network, but I mean, this just fits so well with like what we're trying to do. I'm just so happy to
awesome.
be like presenting this sort of it's just not bullshit. It's like real people telling real stories. We're not worried about like pissing off sponsors. We're not worried about any of that sort of stuff. It's just real folks having a real conversation. And like we've been trying to build a community that we've seen lacking in the outdoor space for so long. That's why we're even talking right now, Colin and I, because we both have the same drive to build that sort of thing. And so I'm just so happy that we're expanding that even more. Also, I mean, what a get having President Trump on for the first episode too. I mean,
he's welcome. He can come on Open Container.
Busy, but man, we have that, right? That's locked down.
Oh, would we have some questions? Would we have some questions?
This is where all of his deportation raids are going to get announced on Open Container. It's like next week in Chicago.
It's actually not bad. It's not bad, Colin.
Thanks, thank you.
My first question has to do with the village people, I think. But
no shit, right? Just do you get it? Does anyone? I want to know if his staff is behind the scenes, like laughing at him, like he still doesn't know. He still doesn't know. That would be amazing, actually.
Nothing like taking one of the greatest gay anthems ever for your conservative anthem.
Well, it's like Reagan using "Born in the USA," like the notorious like anti-Vietnam song.
At least you had to think about that one.
As a patriotic
this one's
anthem.
pretty obvious, but whatever.
Yeah. That's a good point. You could kind of look past it with the Springsteen one. That's true.
Anyway,
anyway, I just wanted to comment that I'm just overjoyed to be working with you guys. I've loved working, Colin and Dave doing the production and kind of spurring me on to create a really great podcast, and the way you guys have set everything up, the way you guys have everything organized. And I just love the approach. Obviously, it seems like the right place for me to be because I've never really fit in structured environments. So I love being part of a team.
Hooked in the outdoors wasn't structured? Yeah. Come on.
Oh no. And we are going to do a podcast on that for sure. But yeah, I've always been kind of on that, it's probably part of the outdoor space, right? I've never been a normal kid, never fit into doing what I was supposed to do. So I'm really excited to be working with people who have that same philosophy and are, upending some things.
Fantastic.
Well, I guess maybe that's a good place to kind of wrap up. I think I want to ask you because, obviously people of our generation, the people who cross paths with Justin and I, like we all know who you are. We all got up reading your work, the magazines you publish, whatever, like Hooked on the Outdoors, OR Daily, Elevation Outdoors. But for anybody who maybe isn't as familiar with what you've done, like what's your personal philosophy on the outdoors? Like what do you hope people take away from like your experiences? Like just kind of pump your own tires for a minute here about like what do you bring to the table when it comes to Open Container, and what do you hope the listeners take away from that?
Boy, that's a really great question. I mean, for me, for the outdoors is, I don't want this to sound too far out there, but it's really a sacred space, right? For me, it's something I moved out west when I was in a bad place and embraced, skiing and climbing and building trails and all that really kind of turned me around and saved my life, I would say. And I get that every time I go out there, every time I bring people out there. So I think in the podcast, I'd like to bring those same experiences to listeners, experiences that I once heard a great thing about writing short stories. I got an MFA in creative writing and short stories.
In Iowa?
And there's this guy.
Iowa?
I wish it was not Iowa, University of Washington.
Okay, just asking.
Which was better.
Go Huskies.
Yeah. But there was a famous fiction teacher named Gordon Lish, who they called Mr. Fiction. And what Gordon Lish said was that a short story's got to grab you by the collar and say, I'm going to tell you something to change your life.
That's great.
And I think that's important. I've tried to take that into everything I do. Because what's the point if you're listening to or putting your time into something that's not going to make some difference for you?
Thanks for coming on. Listen, right now, Open Container, which according to Doug Schitzbahn will change your life. That's what he just said, guaranteed to change your life. It's available on every podcast platform out there right now. Go follow it. There's links to it in the show notes. Support the show, and send all your feedback about that. It's the same place you send it for this show, myrockfight@gmail.com. Thanks for coming on, Doug.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks, man.
As I said, I'm really excited to be a part of this team.
We are
to be working with you guys.
We are too, buddy. All right, thanks so much. All right, next story. According to Katie Jackson over on The Trek, Moderna, the company most notably known for its work creating the vaccine or a vaccine for COVID-19, is close to unveiling its mRNA vaccine for the Norovirus.
Thank God.
And apparently this is a big deal for the thru-hiking community because the Norovirus, which is the thing that causes horrible stomach bug, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the stomach bug.
Yep.
That is not food poisoning, it's the stomach virus. It can linger. Norovirus can linger on multiple touch points, such as privy doorknobs and shelter floors, and apparently hand sanitizer, ineffective against it. So it actually becomes a big deal for thru hikers and backpackers. Separate of the outdoors, there isn't much I'd probably celebrate more in life than a vaccine for the norovirus, because that is the fucking worst.
Yeah.
But I had no idea that the outdoor upside of such a thing. So I mean, I don't know. Did you know about this? Did you know this was a backpacker problem?
I know that norovirus can like rip through hiking communities, but I never really thought about it as being. And it sounds like this is a bit more like Europe and like Appalachian Trail specific, because there's not really like shelter floors and stuff like for Western. Through hiking,
they reference the PCT specifically in the.
I have to assume that that's just because the hygiene sucks and that you're potentially sharing things and you're within groups. I mean, honestly, you're probably kind of back in daycare a little bit. You know what I mean? Like you haven't washed, you haven't wiped your ass properly.
That's a great way of putting it.
You know, you know, unless you have actual soap, and you probably don't because it's not like something you necessarily want to bring with you in the backcountry. Like you're not going to be super, super clean. And so you show up and you bump into somebody and you offer each other a snack. Like there you go.
There's an exchange of particles.
Yeah. I've definitely heard a lot about norovirus and being a problem for thru hikes. And can you imagine, dude, not a whole lot worse to experience. Imagine being days from anything.
I kill me.
Oh my God. Like I would panic. I would panic because I'd just be like, dude, I can't walk. Like I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. Like, you know how it is. Like nothing feels worse.
No.
Jesus Christ.
And to just be, going out and spraying down trees from both ends, like, and to your point, you can't get clean.
Yeah, you can't just go hop in the shower or something. Oh my God.
Literal nightmare. Like, this sounds horrible.
And you can't watch.
Anybody who's experienced this and continues to go backpacking, I guess I applaud you. Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever even had like a cold while backpacking. You know what I mean? Like
that sounds terrible too.
That sounds bad. I probably have. I mean, but God, and you can't watch 30 Rock all day or whatever it is. It's going to make you feel slightly better.
Wow.
Lay on the couch and just be like, I'm going to die. I'm shitting out of my mouth somehow. I don't know what's happening.
Right.
And but at least 30 Rock's on. You're just up there on some saddle. Some mountain saddle, and it's just all rock, and you're just alone maybe, and you're just
thermarest has a hole in it,
and you're an ultralighter, so your stuff isn't particularly comfortable, and you're just
because you shopped at the Garage Grown Gear ultralight sale.
I mean, you got there fast and easily, but man, you should not have shaken Dirtbag's hand or whatever.
And you thought, I'll take half the roll of toilet paper to save a little weight instead of the full roll.
That was
a mistake.
That I will take this vaccine once a week for the rest of my life once it comes out. I realize that's probably overkill, but I've got two kids under 6. I don't need that anymore. There's nothing.
I'm sure you've debated this, do you want to have the flu for a week or the stomach bug for a day?
God,
and there was a time I probably said, I'd rather get it done in 24 hours, but I'm like, no, I think I would take the flu for a week.
I think I would take the flu. At least you can kind of function. There's always that period where you think, I might die. I almost would rather be dead than dealing with this. Well, you know what? I wonder if thru hikers, okay, here we go. This is why you should listen to Rock Fight, folks. You're going to get world-class tips from world-class hosts.
I love this.
I bet a lot of thru hikers aren't parents. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It's always a big deal when someone's out backpacking with their kids.
Yeah. So, or also, if my wife is like, hey, I'm going to go through hike the PCT for 3 months, I'd be like, the fuck you are? What am I supposed to do with these kids? So I'm guessing most thru hikers are not parents. Or if maybe they're older parents. Okay. So they won't know about this.
Yeah.
Zofran. You know about Zofran?
No.
Oh, boy.
It's just, I may have aged out of
It's a miracle drug. So
what is it?
It's an anti-nausea drug that is basic, as far as every doctor I've talked to about it, is it's basically harmless. It will make you not throw up. It'll keep you.
Is that what like women with bad morning sickness take?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I guess probably. But we always have it. We get it recurring prescriptions from our pediatrician because our older daughter gets really car sick, and so we'll just give her a tablet before we go somewhere, and she doesn't.
No way.
Yeah. So if you're a thru hiker, try to get some Zofran.
And Imodium.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's amazing how well it works, and from my understanding, it's not like you need to be throwing up. It's not like there's the virus in you and you have to get it out by puking. That's just kind of the reaction that it causes. So you're not doing any harm by not throwing up. And apparently you can just take it constantly. There's not real side effects or anything. But yeah, Zofran.
Wait, the norovirus doesn't have to you're not getting it out of you. It's just the effects of having the virus.
That's okay. That is what was explained to me by not my pediatrician, but by
that somehow makes it worse, doesn't it?
A physician assistant. She's I was like, well, don't. Because I went and I was like, my girl, because when you're a new parent and your kid's throwing up for 3 days, you're like, this seems bad.
Oh my God, she's gonna die.
And you go into
and
they're like, dude, you're the 30th person in here today with the same exact thing, and she's like, just take all the Zofran you want. And I'm like, well, don't they need to be throwing up? Isn't that their body getting rid of it? She's like, not really with norovirus. Food poisoning maybe, but not with norovirus.
That really makes it worse.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be like, this is terrible, but at least it's getting
out of me. Or maybe you only need to puke once. I don't know. I trusted her, and honestly, I'd rather take the chance that something terrible is going to happen to my liver down the road or whatever, because I didn't.
Well, I guess the other thing you could try besides Zofran is Xenon. Maybe that will help with this as well.
Yeah, 100%. Take them together. You'll get your oxygenated really well, and you won't puke. So,
I mean, look, I would cover this regardless because an mRNA vaccine for the norovirus, sign me up. Okay, flu, COVID, noro. Let's go. Give me that shot all day long.
That sounds kind of cool. Flu, COVID, and noro.
Just all at once.
Yeah.
Let's do this. What else you got? What other vaccines you got back there? Robert Kennedy's lingering. We got to make sure we get all the vaccines.
Just put them in a blender and just Jamba Juice style and just give me that big ass syringe, a liter size, a liter of vaccine, and just pump me full of that shit.
That's how we need to get past the RFKs of the world. We need to have a Jamba Juice style virus shop that just prints cash all day long and be you roll up and you're just I'll take a noro and a flu.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I had COVID last week. I don't need it.
Yeah. If that's a really good point.
All right, Manny, we got a little mailbag. Want to talk about some emails we got?
Yeah. Can you make some rustling up mail sound, please?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. What did you know?
I'm the sound effect guy. I don't have any paper. Yeah. I got some Capri Suns to rub together. Does that sound like paper?
I can't hear it, but maybe. We'll find out.
All these Capri Suns on my workbench.
All right, first up, we got an email from John. A couple weeks ago, we talked about, I'm not sure which episode I talked about it on, but I made a reference to,
I remember
this was true, the coat epoxy jackets were being sold in Costco.
Yep.
And which is sort of a moment for brands. You start seeing their stuff.
There's only how many steps do you think there are between Costco and Big Five?
Not many.
Yeah.
And Costco is sort of the premium, like kind of big, like club type stores. Like it's a little bit better. And there's some brands I think that can go into a Costco. Coat epoxy is not one of them.
Yeah.
So I referenced that. I got an email from a guy named John, who runs a sales agency. They represent multiple outdoor footwear brands and gear brands. And he writes in, listening to the Rumple podcast episode now and heard the comment on coat epoxy at Costco, because that was the episode we mentioned it. Turns out one of our international distributors sold to Costco without the brand's consent, because he's a coat epoxy rep.
Yeah.
And it puts us in a tough position. So they're still tracking it down apparently. But I immediately went from what the fuck are you doing, coat epoxy? Like, oh my God, coat epoxy, I really feel for you. Because if I was like the sales manager of a brand and all of a sudden I woke up to, hey, do you know your stuff's being sold in Costco? It would be a bad day.
Well,
so I feel for the folks.
You can't. You don't want to throw Costco under the bus or be put out a big social media blast. Be like, we're sorry we're at Costco, because that sucks. This was an accident. I've honestly, as someone who's not worked, I guess I worked at Barnes & Noble. I've really not had a lot of retail experience, and I don't understand a lot of how this stuff works. And it's always interesting to hear you talk about, sales channels and distribution channels and all these sorts of things. I'm learning quite a bit, but I wouldn't have even thought that was an option. So that's fascinating that can happen.
I did bounce that over to Owen Comerford. And he's like, yeah, I've heard of this happening with some other brands before. Like, I guess sometimes people just get oh, we have the license to this, so we'll just sell. Oh, Costco, you want to write us a big fat check? Okay, and then before you know it, stuff shows up.
I don't know. Do all brands have I don't know how big you have to be before you start licensing your stuff out. Right, you know what I mean? Does Coat epoxy have an international distributor? That's not a licensee though. Because a licensee...
No, they have an agreement with those people to sell their stuff in other countries. Okay. So I don't know how... Again, he said they're still investigating it. But I mean, what this really does is it's you think about, a West Allen or a Cody, in Cody, Wyoming at Sunlight Sports, or any sort of specialty account that's selling that same jacket for $299 or whatever, or $200, and it's oh, it's $29.99 at Costco. It's whoa. That's rough. That's where the fallout really comes
honestly, I wouldn't even thought about that. I'd just be more in terms of where we're actually being sold. Do we want to maintain our rep as a core brand?
It's that as well.
Yeah.
But I mean, just the practical day to day. You imagine if you're walking the floor, even at an REI, and someone goes, "Oh, I saw this jacket at Costco for $30." It's so you're not going to buy it here? Is what you're saying? So they got some work to do there. But I do feel for you, coat epoxy. That does suck.
Yeah.
We had a return from a guy we haven't heard from a while. Our buddy Tacoma Phil's back. Yeah, he reached out because he was an REI guy. Okay. And he reached out about our REI experiences episode. Phil writes that REI shutting down experiences is a bigger blow than people realize. Based on the intensive peer-reviewed research I did in my garage, it may be the largest guided outdoor experience and adventure travel company in the nation, and poof, it's gone. Having worked many years in experience, I can say it never made a profit ever. But previous CEOs knew that wasn't the point. It was a mission. It was mission-driven to get more people outdoors who then could coincidentally buy more stuff for some reason. Yes, we did those calculations.
Aha, I suspected as much.
It makes sense. You're selling gear, right? Yeah. You should buy your gear here. I know REI is in rough times, but it's a big mistake to cut experiences. It was in many ways the soul of REI, and now REI is just another retailer. Damn, I think I can say it now. 2025 sucks. Well, I don't know. The jury's still out of 2025.
Dude, good Lord, Phil.
Come on, man. It's January 20th.
I mean, it's not. Yeah. So, okay, that's interesting. I don't know if you saw, but there was a comment on. I don't know if it was yours, mine, or something that Owen put up about this. And somebody commented that we're all getting it wrong. They specifically called out my take that it's not about selling boots, to people that are going to do the experiences. They're it's about how to profit. These can be super profitable. These basically in a travel company can be wildly profitable, and that's what they were going for, and they just couldn't figure it out, and that's why they shut it down. Which I hadn't thought about. I don't know anything about that. I mean, maybe, but to me, it just seems.
I think both things can be true there. I think it could be both things.
Yeah,
right.
But it was an interesting take. But to me, it makes more sense that it would be hey, we can potentially make money off of this, and we're kind of locking in future customers. What's interesting is that like, I guess I did used to see, I've been thinking about this more since they shut. Like, I would fairly often see like an REI van in places I'd be, right? And I didn't realize that they were kind of licensing that out to different guiding companies or employing guiding companies, however the structure worked. But like, it was pretty common to see, like, I'd go ride my bike at China Camp, like, which is a nearby state park, and there'd be like REI vans there, and they'd be doing kayaking or something. Like, and I just kind of took it for granted. And never thought much about it because I never wanted to do it. But a friend of mine, I think, did a class through you know what? My wife did like an orienteering class through REI once. And then a buddy of mine, I think, did like a backcountry survival or like a wilderness course through REI once. And it is kind of weird. I don't know. Maybe some of those are going to stay because my understanding is some of the classes are staying. I don't know.
Yeah, Owen said that, I think, on our episode that some of the classes are going to stay.
But it is like, the more I've thought about it, because I've never done I've never like gone to any kind of school for anything I do outdoors or anything like that. So, but the more I've thought about it, the more I realize, wow, I did used to see those vans like everywhere. Which, you know, I guess it was a bigger thing than I thought.
The whole thing just makes me mad. I just get mad because it's like, on both fronts. Because number one, like, I do look, at some point you have to boil this all down to if it's making money or not. Yeah. I understand the upside of having something and feeding other parts of your business, but this could not have been a cheap thing to operate. And at some point, the chasm between profitability and what you're spending must have just gotten too much, where they're like, fuck this, what are we doing?
Yeah.
I also look at it and be like, REI, figure it out. You know, you've had like 40 years, like, make it real small. Make it like, we're going to do these 2 trips a year, whatever it is, because you have a unique market opportunity to say, hey, you want to come to REI to shop for your stuff, we'll offer you things to go do. Now, I guess maybe that's why the classes are still happening. Maybe that kind of checks that box. But just on every front, and I think it's kind of a little bit of what almost like Phil's alluding to. It's like, it's just a giant bummer at the end of the day, because it feels like it should be something that works, you know, and you can kind of, anyway, I hear you, Phil.
Yeah, good to hear from you, Phil, by the way.
Yeah, we missed you, Phil. Next email from Troy. Troy is he writes in quite a bit, and this is a pretty long email, but he was commenting on when our Bigfoot story, the guys who got lost in Oregon and ended up passing away. And he gave some examples of, you know, things like Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, but then he kind of, some actual real life discoveries in the outdoors, right? So we discovered like a new species of antelope in the early 1990s. Yeah. There was a primitive fish that was thought to have died out 66 million years ago, and then someone caught one in 1938. And he basically, the kind of summation of the email was, these discoveries, he writes, are genuinely exciting because they really happen. Yeah. Animals like these are living proof of the infinitely complex and resilient phenomenon we call life. They are by definition wondrous. And you know, Troy thank you for your email. Yeah, it was a wonderful email. Please keep them coming. He writes us. We get a lot of emails from Troy. They're always insightful. But I loved this take. Is, you know, obviously we had some fun at the expense of like the alien, Bigfoot, and ghost people on that episode. Yeah. But it's a really thing. I wish we had thought of this. I mean, because there is absolute wonder. I mean, why do we go outside all the time? Why do we care so much to complain about stuff on the shows? Because of the wonder of the natural world. Yep. And here is science making incredible discoveries, and we're not like freaking out about that. No. We're going to go. Let's go find Bigfoot.
Well, I think it's probably safe to say that if you are so, I hope I don't offend anybody here, but if you are so convinced in Bigfoot's legitimacy that you are willing to do something dangerous enough that you die outdoors trying to find it, you're probably not reading a lot of like up to date, like you're probably not reading Nature and Science and things like that. So maybe you aren't aware that these things are happening, but this is such a good take. So we don't do it anymore, but for like 5 years, I wrote every issue in Adventure Journal. I wrote a column called Natural Curiosities, and I got to learn about so much fascinating stuff. And basically the idea was, and I would work with Steve Casimiro on what topic, but the idea to me was always, if I've heard of this, I'm not going to cover it. Like, I'm only going to cover something I've never heard of before. Right. And I'm pretty curious and like kind of like a trivia head. So like I know a lot of random shit. And so, but every week it would be something I had never heard of, or every quarter. And I got to do some fascinating ones. Like the first one that pops into my head is one that I talked about yesterday with a buddy of mine on a trail, and we were as we were riding, and we saw some deer, and we just started like talking about how some of the work that they've done to thin some of the forest around here might affect the deer, blah blah blah. And I was thinking back to a story I wrote about how like there's all these studies now that show that like the fear a prey animal feels for predators can actually shape how an ecosystem looks. So like if like deer will or any kind of grazer or prey animal can, like, if they have places to hide, if they eat too much of the foliage or whatever, now they can't hide as well. Animals like the predators can see them, and so maybe they will like leave that alone, and so like and go eat somewhere else or whatever. And like basically as the dynamic changes between predator and prey, the actual landscape will change a little bit, which is fascinating.
Interesting. Yeah,
I did one about how the Tunguska experiment, which is or not experiment, the Tunguska explosion, which was this thing you've probably heard of in like Siberia in like 1908, where like 80 miles or something, I forget how much, of trees were just like flattened, and people saw a bright light in the sky, and everyone just, if you've heard of it, you probably, oh yeah, it was like an asteroid or something. There's no evidence of that. There's no crater. There's no space matter. There's nothing that you would expect to find from an asteroid. And one like crazy theory is that a tiny, like size of an atom black hole, which I guess there are tiny black holes in the universe, flew like the Earth just like passed through it, and it like that level of energy that's contained in a microscopically tiny black hole would cause almost that exact thing to happen, where like there would be like a burst of energy and it would flatten stuff, but there'd be no crater, and it would have come out the other side of the planet, like on the North Atlantic, and it's like 1908, like just nobody there. Nobody would have seen it. Just this like stuff like that all the time going on, and it was such a really fun column to write. And we just decided it kind of ran its course when we stopped writing it. But I read through those a lot. I put them up on my LinkedIn every so often if you're interested.
That's awesome.
But anyway, Troy, you were 100% right, dude. Natural world is an amazing place. We find crazy shit all the time. People don't hear enough about it. There's obviously no monster in Loch Ness, obviously. But you know what? There might be some weird giant sturgeon no one's ever seen before.
Right.
That's cooler.
Still undiscovered.
Yes.
Yeah, was it? We know more about outer space than we know about the bottom
I
of the
want to
ocean.
get a beer with Troy. I like Troy a lot.
Although if like, this comes out and like, oh my God, we found Bigfoot. I'm going to be like, oh fuck, we got to record another contest, another podcast.
I mean, but you know what though? We would be so excited about it.
Oh, how pumped would we be? Yeah. Troy would be pumped.
That's the best part about if you create a base level of self-deprecation where you make fun of yourself anyway. Like I have no issue with being like, I'm wrong and I'm an idiot because I'm already self-deprecating. So you are too. Yeah.
Well, you got to be. I don't know. We're all a bunch of idiots.
We don't know what we're talking about.
Yeah. What the hell we know?
Colin hates camping. We're running an outdoors podcast.
We got an email from a guy named David. It's not producer Dave. I don't think it is anyway.
Oh, shit. What if it was?
I copied and pasted that, sir, just to let you know. I just saw you made a correction in our outline. That was not
People
me.
People spell my name wrong all the time.
Dave.
I can't let it go. Even in an outline that you and I are going to see once and never again, I got to correct it.
Well, that was a copy. I left it because I want to make sure you saw that he spelled your name incorrectly.
Thank you very much.
David writes, man, and I assume he didn't address it directly to me. I assume he's addressing it at me. If it weren't for your co-hosts, producer Dave and Justin Hausman, which he spelled with an E, I'd probably give up on your podcast. From claiming resort skiing isn't really an outdoor sport and disregarding the fact that people can and have had all kinds of exposure-related injuries that can only be had outdoors. Kind of had a tough, and that may have been also the Bigfoot one. To putting Birkenstock as an it brand in the outdoor footwear category. Because why? They can be worn outside. Would you wear them hiking, paddling, and mountain biking? You get it all wrong. Now you're bitching about gravel shoes not being a real category. They're not. Well, gravel bikes have nearly redefined cycling for a generation of riders. This is the kicker. Your insecure laugh at the end of nearly every sentence is a tell that maybe you don't believe what you're saying, but damn, man, you don't have to try so hard to have a hot take.
I mean, hot takes do require effort, David. Okay, I'm just going to say that right now.
They're well thought out.
You know what's interesting about that is that there's like, I mean, first of all, taste is subjective, obviously, but I don't think people realize, like I made a little brief comment, which you heard, no, wait, good Lord, I can't handle time. When we were talking to Schnitzbahn about his show coming out.
Well, that will be in the past now, because that'll be earlier in the episode.
So they will have, okay, great. So early in the episode, I talked about how Doug has a great voice for a podcast. And like, I honestly, I think like 85% of the success that we have on this podcast is just that you're a really fucking good host. Like you have a really good like radio voice.
I didn't read this email to get you to pump
No,
my
I know,
tires,
but like it's true. Like I can't even fathom this podcast existing without your like kind of enthusiastic, almost like a DJ type voice. Like it's super important. Thanks, man. I don't know. I mean, I get it. Whatever. I mean, I don't know. Dave's allowed to have his opinion. He obviously likes me, which is all that matters. But But like I just this wouldn't exist without Colin.
Thanks, man. Yeah, look, David, I'm sorry, I guess. I don't know. I feel like anything that you wrote in there, I feel very confident defending any of those points. I'm not going to do that now, but you're welcome to listen or not listen. It doesn't cost anything for you to do it. Hopefully you continue to.
We obviously like the show.
Making the show.
Yeah. But also, Dave, like if I, everything Colin says is 100% genuine, and his laugh is super genuine. And he does this even more in person. He's more apt to be like laughing and making jokes and stuff like that in person than he is on the pod. So
Justin really makes me laugh, guys. It is never forced. It is never forced. It is my favorite thing about working with Justin.
Well, a lot of people don't realize is I do these. I record nude, so
See?
and I have a hilarious body, so it's just fun. It's just anybody would laugh.
Well, I would say to anybody out there listening, we haven't done this in a while, like leave a review, send an email. If we hear from you, we can maybe send you some stickers. So, appreciate when what we get, the feedback from you guys, comments on LinkedIn, Apple Podcast reviews, especially if you can leave a review on Apple Podcasts or at myrockfight@gmail.com. And we can address your stuff on the show here as well.
Yeah.
And tell you what, Dave, if you keep getting angry at us, I'm just going to have to invite you on and say, all right, man, you're on the air.
Let's hear your laugh.
What's your beef? Let's do it. So
Honestly, maybe it's masochism. I enjoy hearing negative emails almost more than positive ones in some way. One, it's good. It's really good feedback. But two, it's like, if you're engaging, I mean, I don't know. I feel like if someone gets angry enough to write in, like you've engaged with them in a pretty meaningful way. I mean, honestly, that's probably like marketing 101. Like any like attention is good, but like,
sure,
it's pretty easy to like a podcast that's about the outdoors with two like relatively jovial dudes. If you're already going outdoors, you're probably generally going to like it. But like if we're like pushing buttons and pissing people off, I'm okay with that.
The show shouldn't be for everybody.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be, or we're doing it wrong. And also, clearly, David is a big skiing guy who is very excited about the gravel shoes
and
as
Bigfoot.
a category.
And potentially finding Bigfoot.
All right, time for the party shot.
It's time for a party shot.
I think I went first last time.
Have I settled on one
I did
yet?
go first.
I did settle on one. Okay, yeah. I'll go first. And I always feel bad because Colin writes this out and it never even occurs to me to do it. Usually,
but you're so good off the dome.
I was just going to say, I'm usually pulling them out of my ass like minutes before.
You're good at it, though. I am not good at that.
So I'm going to pull up. I got to pull it up just so I want to get the date right. Okay, so some point in the last, I think it was in late December or early January, somebody decided to take a little joyride through Death Valley National Park. Now, it should go without saying that national parks generally don't allow off-road travel. It's possible there's like one or two I don't know about that do, and I'm not talking about dirt roads, but I'm talking about actual like off-road driving, right? Like that's not typically a thing in national parks. BLM land, national forest land, 100%. But national parks, as far as I know, generally don't allow that kind of thing. Maybe I'm wrong, but generally speaking, they don't. Some people went joyriding in the Eureka Valley, which is home to some of like the biggest sand dunes in North America, in Death Valley National Park. And so there's like basically, there's obviously Death Valley is very lifeless, generally speaking, not necessarily, but it appears that way. They drove through this like, I don't know if swale's the right word, but like a depression, almost like a bowl in the sand dunes where of course any moisture or anything is going to collect. So at the bottom, there's all these endangered plants that are like barely clinging to life anyway. And these people just drove right through them. Like I'm looking at the pictures right now. You see footprints, and then you see like off-road tire tracks right through these plants. And I guarantee they also drove over cryptobiotic soil, which another thing I learned about when writing National Curiosity column, which is like so crucially important to the desert ecosystem, and it takes hundreds of years to grow back, especially in places arid as Death Valley. I just don't know what is wrong with people. I mean, like, just because you have an off-roader or a side-by-side, you don't get to drive it wherever you want. I mean, it's insane to me. And like, one of the coolest things I've seen in like any like off-road brand or anything do was when I went and drove the new Broncos right when they first came out with Ford. And the first thing before they even let us in the car was they give a full full lecture about how you have to be really sensitive about where you drive, not only because you should in theory care about the places that you're going, but also because the easiest way to get us kicked out of places is doing shit like this.
Right.
And so obviously driving wasn't allowed there anyway. But I mean, just because driving's allowed doesn't mean there's not going to be sensitive stuff. BLM land is full of like very sensitive areas and stuff like that. So just pay attention. Like when I'm off-roading, you know, like I'm usually on a dirt track, right? And like if I have to turn around, I'm not going to turn around in a place where there's like sparse vegetation. I'm going to drive over the only stuff that's out there. It's just mind numbing to me that people do this shit. I realize sand dunes probably look lifeless. It probably looks like scrub brush, but I mean, just because it doesn't look like anything to you doesn't mean it's not super important. And it's just a bad look. It makes me look bad as someone who has like off-road tires on my truck. So it drives me nuts. Stop doing that.
Right. This is like when you hear about the people like, you know, knocking over like the hoodoos and like, you know, the stuff like in Utah, just like, you know, going to Goblin State Park or whatever and be like, let's just knock over rocks. It's
it's one thing to like pick up sticks or firewood in a forest or whatever where there's like tons of it around, but the desert, there's like, if you see a plant, it's like, it's a miracle it's there at all, you know?
Right.
So yeah, just a huge bummer, especially, although you can kind of probably imagine who these people voted for, but like, especially going into this new administration where they're probably going to do everything they can to fuck national parks over, you know, it's like, let's not like start down this road already.
Listen to Justin Hausman, everybody. He knows what he's talking about. So, all right, my parting shot. So if you go back in the Rock Fight archives, you'll find a pod I did about the silliness of cotton kills. Justin and I have talked a ton on the show about wearing pretty much whatever you want for most activities outside that you're like, you know, we appreciate a lot of the stuff that we have to wear or that we can wear or that has been invented to wear for these activities, but that also use a little common sense with, you know, you can kind of wear what you want most of the time. And so from my parting shot today, I want to take that mindset a bit further because as I in a previous newsletter, I appointed myself the czar of the outdoors because I think that we need a little bit of a guiding principle here for like some of the rules that we follow in the outdoors. So I'm implementing a rule that all outdoor gear, apparel, and footwear brands, employees at those brands, for 2 weeks every year, they must go out and do their favorite activities in the most rudimentary stuff. I thought of this yesterday because I had an insane day. It was a ton of stuff on my plate, and I had a little window in the afternoon where I could get outside, so I didn't, you know, think about what I was wearing, and I just threw on some old Ultra Lone Peaks that I had kicking around. I grabbed my dog, and I went out on a hike, and I was about halfway through it, and I looked down, I'm wearing like a cotton t-shirt with a cotton sweatshirt, like a full-on, like, you know, like logoed sweatshirt. Yeah. That, you know, and my shoes were a really old pair with like kind of holes in the side and like no outsole left. And guess what? I was fine. You were fine. And I had this moment where I'm like, you know, I think, and it's okay. There's definitely hikes I would go on where I would not dress that way. But when you work for an outdoor brand, at least my experience is that you get so wound up in the stuff that your brand makes that you start to believe all of the bullshit that you can't go outside without being adorned with a certain level of performance. And then you go to your next job at another brand, you kind of bring that mindset with you. So 2 weeks every year, you got to head out and go for a hike or a run in jorts and cotton t-shirts. You got to go skiing in jeans and a 1990s starter jacket. Maybe bike some single track and a pair of slip-on Vans and a flannel. That's how Justin does it all the time. You got to go surfing old school in a wool sweater. Whoa. That's what they used to wear before wetsuits.
I don't recommend that.
I don't either, actually. But anyway, bottom line is I want you to be reminded that like a lot of what we talk about when it comes to outdoor stuff is kind of bullshit. And that while it is nice and a lot of the stuff we wear and make and wear outside, it makes us feel pretty good. And like it actually really is a good thing. But you really will be okay in most days. So that's my parting shot.
Yesterday I so shocked. I realize this is the parting shot. We're supposed to leave it at this, but yesterday I was so shocked to discover a new part of my little town that I hadn't been to before. It's like a street I hadn't driven up. I knew it went really high up in the hill, but didn't really know where it petered out. And I was just like, it was a beautiful afternoon. I'm like, you know what? Like the girls were gone. I had some free time. It's like, I'm just going to cruise up here and see what's up here. And then I got up there and realized, oh, this is where the trailhead to this mountain bike trail I've heard of, but didn't know where it was. I saw like a sign. I'm like, oh, I don't really feel like saying what it's called, but I was like, oh, that's where that is. Okay, cool. And then like just to the west of it, this like gorgeous overlook that like looks over like the redwoods and Mount Tamalpais and like this like valley that connects like my town to the next valley over. It's just amazing, beautiful, beautiful place. And like there are people sitting at the top like drinking a glass of wine, like a couple with their dog. I was like, that's absolutely awesome. Epic. But to get to that spot, I had to hike a decent amount up like it's just like, I just was like, had like jeans and like Blundstones or whatever. And it was just like, as I get halfway up, there's like people, I'm passing people that have like trekking poles and like the full on Portlandia, get the gear. You know that skit, right?
Yeah. No, I know
fully
exactly.
just like, and they're not, and like when I saw the trekking poles, I'm, oh, that's cool. Like, senior citizens making up, it was a burly, no, they're like 25, just, which whatever. I do that sometimes, but anyway, it's just, and like the doors unlocked to my truck, my phone's like, I'm just like and I ended up going for like a 2-mile hike just because it was gorgeous when I got up there. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. You don't
I think it's
have
part of the
to
journey.
reach for the stuff.
We all have to do, when you kind of find it, you got to realize go get the stuff, and you kind of want to wear the stuff that kind of like identifies you as like, I'm a person who knows what I'm doing in the outdoors.
Yep.
And then after you do a few sort of, so the couple you see, I don't know, maybe they're preparing for a backpacking trip, or maybe this is what they thought that they needed for that hike. But then eventually they'll end up in like the Sierra, or the Cascades, or the Rockies, and go on something that like some shit is real, know, in terms of like what they need. And then they'll come home to Marin and be like, we could probably just go up there in our flip-flops and be okay. Like it's just kind of, it's part of the process for sure. But I do think when you work at a brand, it does sort of brainwash you to a certain degree about like what you're supposed to have. Because you also want to wear the stuff that your brand makes, and you're kind of like, just spewing the dogma that the brand's teaching you, right? So
Yep.
That's right. 2 weeks a year, people. You got to get out there. So. All right, man, we can wrap it up there. We have, what's going on? This week we got, so it's Wednesday, Friday, come back for Andrea Kelly from Make Plus Equal. Go listen to Open Container. Listen to our other episodes this week. Go check out, if you missed the newsletter, so go subscribe for the newsletter for next week. And I guess that's what we have going on at Rockfight. The Rockfight is a production of Rockfight LLC. We're Justin Hausman and our guest today, Doug Schnitzbahn. I'm Colin True. Thanks for listening. What do we do now? Is this the?
This is where we have a little Krista Makes section.
Oh, Krista Makes is back.
Yeah,
he's here. Come on, he's always here.
He's always here,
just
man.
Lives in this little booth in my garage.
He's right behind you, right
plays
now.
the song. Yeah. Here's the Rock Fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters.
Peace.
Rock